back to the VET S.O.S podcast. I caught you dancing again. I love it. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network, and we're proud members of the Prairie community. We can also now be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on iHeartRadio, on Odyssey, and the TuneIn apps. Find the channel by searching the word Reach. Today we have Todd Nelson with us. He is here to chat with us about his program Transition 30. It's a really, really cool program. I was blessed to be on it and had an absolute ball with it. And the way you put it, I can't wait to get into this discussion. It's going to be great. Keith, getting settled in. This is season 4, episode 2. You're the official co-pilot. How's it going?
Oh, it's going amazing. Living the dream as always, Shawn. And I am so excited for this episode. Todd and I, we connected a couple years back now, and two kindred spirits, I feel, this is going to be a great episode. I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll jump right into it. Todd is a financial advisor that has been working with transitioning and veteran service members since 2020. He and his wife have been married for 30 years. Congratulations. That's huge. Especially in today's day and age. And they have 4 children. As a former minister, Todd has a passion to help people. So in 2021, he founded Transition 30, an organization aimed at introducing transitioning service members to topics and organizations that will help them in their transition. Fantastic. And once again, congratulations on 30. My wife and I just hit 23. I know it's quite the milestone. But how you doing today, Todd? I'm so happy to have you here.
You know what? Like Keith said, living the dream. I am not a veteran, and so it constantly surprises me how open the veteran community is to hearing outside voices that they can trust, and that I've heard I've learned that is such a big part of it, and so I'm just blessed to be here, and life is good. Life is good.
Outstanding, and I mean, in my opinion, you hit the key word. It's trust. I know several of my battle buddies we don't trust a whole lot, so right. Your ability to relate and earn the veterans' trust is a testament to what you're doing. So,
yeah.
All right. So you're not a veteran, but you decided that you wanted to help veterans. So tell us a little bit about what's the history there? How did this happen? How did you get into wanting to do this?
Shawn, I could say that it was all part of some major business plan that I had, put together. But honestly, it was God knows how to put the right people in the right place. And in 2020, when the pandemic was going on, of course, I'm tasked with trying to meet people. And a friend of mine was connecting with, he was a veteran, and he said, the thing is, veterans really are very welcoming to advice as long as they can trust you. And so what I started to learn is not everybody needs what I do as a financial advisor in the moment that they're transitioning. But what they do need is they need to hear from voices that have been before. The after action report, something along those lines. And it really is true. And so I started connecting with people like Keith and then Shawn, you last year, and realizing that that's what the transitioning service members need. And because I am a former minister, it kind of hit that nerve inside of me that, maybe what I offer isn't necessary in that day or in that moment. But if I can help somebody, I feel like I'm doing what I'm put on the earth to do anyway. So it's kind of a win-win is how it all worked out.
That's awesome. I do have to ask though, how do you go from minister to financial advisor? How does that transition happen? It seems a little out there to me. So how's that work?
If you were in my brain, you would be asking the exact same questions because I do ask quite often. I'm like, God, how does that work? But essentially, I moved down to Nashville to start a church. We closed that down because if you know anything about Nashville, they probably don't need one more church, heavily churched area. And but then I started a business, and in 18 I sold that business. And in 19, my cousin was with the company that I'm with, financial advising. And so it was just a natural transition. And then 2020, 2 weeks before the pandemic started, is when I got licensed. So it was, so those were the days that the questions really were were firing rapid and loud. So
That's
and it's
fantastic.
just goes to show that nothing happens by coincidence either. So that's
well, and honestly, Shawn and Keith, I think that's why I affiliate so much with the transitioning service member. Ministers and military, at least prior to 2017, had quite a bit in common as far as we were allowed a housing allowance, and we could deduct moves and all of that stuff. And so there was a lot that we had in common, at least from that standpoint. And then to know what transitioning service members are going through, it really struck a chord in me, because my transition has never went the way that I thought it would. Right? I mean, you couldn't write a business plan for each of our lives. I'm confident that would turn out as well as most of ours have. And so it's interesting, but I think that's why I connect so well with transitioning service members, because of my being a business owner, a pastor, and a financial advisor all in one career. That's I'm ready to be done with new careers. I'm okay with staying where I'm at. So
right. And back to the trust thing, right? Just, you're so genuine, right? And I mean, I've known you for a couple of years now, but just every time I talk to you, it's like there's nothing being hidden there. There's no ulterior motive. I love your spirit. I love your heart. And what you are doing for the transition space, the veteran community within the transition space is so amazing. So let me ask you this. So there's tons of resources out there, right? We're a resource, you're a resource. What differs? How does Transition 30 differ from what else is out there? Why would our listeners want to go check out, which I absolutely say they should go check out. I endorse it 100%. Go check out Transition 30, but give them the why.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Early on, I found out there's 44,000 nonprofit organizations supporting as their main mission the transitioning service member. I also realized that in my field, a lot of battle buddies that have went on before the service members get into my field, and that's okay. I mean, I love it, but they can tend to put their interests in front of the interests of the transitioning service member. And I, because of my ministry background, I quickly put myself in their position and thought, you know what, I would want somebody to help me to figure out what resources are available. But honestly, the one thing that I've heard quite often from service members is they're drinking from a fire hose. They go into tap. You take a lot of times 16 weeks to onboard through basic training or whatever, 3 days to offboard. And so they're drinking from a fire hose. They have no idea who to turn to, who to trust. And so I thought, you know what, and not everybody can take 4 hours to watch through an episode, or 45 minutes. But if I could say, let's do like a TED Talk or a 5-minute version. And so that's how Transition 30 got started. And that's my why, is I want to personally vet from the network that I built. So if Keith says, Todd, you got to check out, and Shawn, that's how you came to me, Marina Rabanek said, you've got to check out Shawn. So if the veteran space is vouching for an organization, and then they pass my test, which is I try to highlight nonprofits. I try to highlight people that, because I get organizations all the time saying, hey, Todd, we can help veterans. We charge 30% to get their VA rating up. And I'm like, even I, from a non-veteran standpoint, no, that doesn't sound right when you have tons of resources that can help them. Yep. And so if they pass through those two filters, Keith, that's how I vet that organization. And finally, if it resonates with me, it's going to resonate with the service member too. So that's my why, is make it easy to connect with the people that can get you information on that organization. And that's the other thing. you can hear all about, the VET S.O.S podcast, but if you don't know who to turn into or how to get in touch with them, it really doesn't help you. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love the fact that you almost work on a referral system, right? So you get one veteran recommending another veteran and what have you, and or one organization um, recommending another organization. That basically a warm intro, if you will. That sort of continues that chain, and then ultimately, I guess you're going with your gut, on the feeling you have when you actually interact with the person, which that's just phenomenal. And tell us a little bit about how you run the Transition 30 when you actually, air the show. How's that set up?
Yeah. So originally it was 6 SMEs, again, because I knew that not everybody needed to talk to me, but financial readiness is an important part. A lot of the veterans I talk to talk about that's the foundation. And if you get the foundation wrong, then when you're trying to make a transition or career transition, but you're overloaded with debt, you got to take the first paycheck that comes along, all of that stuff. Yep. But I also knew that people needed to know about SkillBridge. People needed to know about hiring our heroes. People needed to know about USO, what they offer, all of those things. And so I started connecting, and the format of Transition 30 started with 6 SMEs, and you have 5 minutes. Because again, the TSMs are getting inundated with information, right? Just from every area. So give us your elevator pitch. What does your organization do? Why should the TSM reach out to you? And if they want to know how to reach out to your organization, who do they connect with? Well, typically it's the person that's on the call. And so we have their LinkedIn information. And then if the TSM, and the other thing we don't do, we do a final reach out email with, hey, here's all the people that were on the call. Here's their LinkedIn profiles, connect up with them. But then we don't inundate them with other information. We just say, hey, here's the next Transition 30 call. Here's who to reach out to. And it really, really has worked out well. Several hundred folks and have already went through the calls, and a lot of them, they jump on 2 or 3 calls because we mix up the SMEs. We include some of the favorites, like Keith is quickly become a favorite because I call him the bearded wonder of truth bombs. And that's what TSMs need. They don't need a bunch of fluff and frosting put on their situation and you're going to kill it. They need to know, what, it could very well be a difficult period of your life, but you'll get through it because we're here. Find a mentor, find 10, and another one of Keith's sayings. So so each one gets 5 minutes, and I have a timer, and that's where it gets fun. Because Shawn, if you're trying to tell all the organizations that it's impossible. And so you just have to highlight, you boil down, this is what's most important. And that has proven to be a really effective format.
Yeah. Might have to start instituting a timer.
Right. Yes.
Not for Todd, but
not for Todd.
Yeah. Maybe something.
There have been a few times that I have conveniently forgot to turn on my timer.
Hey, it's good to be king, right? Yeah, no, and therein lies what I would tell all of our listeners. Like, this is such an amazing platform and program, because there is, right? I mean, our podcasts aren't terribly long, but it's the generation now, right? Microwave generation. Like, who's going to go listen to an hour-long podcast? Even a 30-minute, 45-minute podcast can be pushing it, right? And so, your program is I love the concept when I heard about it, because speaking of drinking from the fire hose, I mean, people, they come to these things and I'm like, I'm usually the kickoff, because I'm like, I'm going to give you all the reasons why you want to listen. Everybody is about to talk after me, but you need to take notes because it's the raw data, right? There's no fluff. I love it. You cut it down so they don't have time for fluff and flowery speech. It's like, we got to get the meat and potatoes out there as quickly as possible. I got to give Todd a shout out. He, that trademark if you will, or that hashtag's taken off, the bearded wonder of truth bomb. So that is Todd gave that to me. So again, anybody out there listening, that's definitely I took it and ran with it, but that was his idea, if you will. And with that, it like people come in multiple times because we have different guests, or I say we like I'm, but the Transition 30 has different guests, and with 200 and 250,000 service members transitioning out every year, there's no shortage of new people, that would be able to get value from this. So for all those listening, what are kind of some of you kind of hit some things, but like, what would you, as best you could, like, what are all the different topics that we've had? I keep saying that you've had on the Transition 30 program, that so folks listening, like, would help, give them buy-in to want to come check out the next one.
Yeah. The most popular ones, I think, are like Keith, you, simply because you're fresh off transition, and yet you have the ability to talk to them in a way that they're not being coddled. But you also have that sense of caring for them. So, but Skill Bridge is always a really hot topic. Hiring our heroes. I'm trying to get like the Honor Foundation. So some of normally it's the career transition. So resume tips, LinkedIn networking tips. Those are always, I think, in my mind, the most asked questions, but invariably it focuses around hiring our heroes. How do we get involved? Skill Bridge. How do we, and I get it, because again, that's why I started the whole network. The main questions you're being asked is, okay, where are we going to live? Where does my family want to live? How am I going to support my family while we're there? Those are some of the top questions, right? That a lot of these TSMs are focusing on. And so that's why they are the most popular. Anything that has to deal with help me to career transition, those are the ones that people respond to really well.
Wow, that's awesome, and it's really spot on. That was the first thing my wife and I discussed, was where we're going to live. And once I figured out the retirement location, then I can work on everything else. So that to me was the number one thing to figure out. And then we'll worry about finding a house once we get closer. But let's find the location, and then we'll start from there.
Yeah.
So all right. So what's next for Transition 30? Is there any plans to do anything bigger? Or are you going to stick with the same format, which, by the way, is phenomenal? I love the elevator speech concept of it. Where really you get on, you tell them what you do and how to find you, and then it goes on to the next one. So moving forward, you have new ideas, things you're going to be trying, or what?
A great question. So Transition 30 Extra is something relatively new. And it's because some of these subjects that we delved into, like when you see Dave Shantz, he's our Skill Bridge guy that we have on, to see him try to go through 5 minutes, or Lori Norris, to go through all the information that she has in 5 minutes. That's comical. And it does provide a little bit of comedic relief to our calls, because Dave has tried to like 3 times his speech rate, and all these things. But the Transition 30 Extra, we took that and said, okay, some of these, like we had Tyrone Hewitt on, who is a master when it comes to anything from benefits to VA and getting in touch with other VOS, and it's just amazing what he knows. And so we took a Transition 30 Extra and said, okay, some of these really, really important topics, but also highly requested. Let's delve a little bit deeper into that. And so we do try to still keep it around 20 to maybe 30 minutes. But that's something new that we're trying, simply because, and we have a YouTube channel that we post and archive all of the old Transition 30 calls, and that's where we post our Transition 30 extra episodes. And it's just again a way that a person can go spend maybe half hour on our call and say, oh, I do want to know a little bit more about SkillBridge. So, or I do need to know a little bit more about like the Institute for Veterans and Military Families out of the University of Syracuse. Fantastic organization. Those are the things that they can go to the channel, look at the episodes, see who's featured, and then just literally on demand find out a little bit more about that information. So
that's great.
Yeah, and I've had the distinct honor of being able to assist with that as well. That's been humbling and honoring to be able to help Todd out in that endeavor. And so I feel like I'd be remiss, like you do such an amazing service for our transitioning service members in the community. And you use your platform to give others a voice, and you use your platform for your own voice. But I would like to, I'd be remiss if we didn't allow you to in addition to Transition 30, why else would why else would transitioning service members want to reach out to you? Because you mentioned it earlier, right? You do offer, financial services and advice. Like, so what sorts of financial services and advice are you able to provide our transitioning service members?
Yeah. Good question. I appreciate it. So, anything on the budgeting side, I've had, 3 and out guys reach out to me because, hey, how do you help put together a budget? I do offer 30-minute initial free consultations, say, any information. But the folks that find the most value for me, because taxation when you're 20 plus as a military career military person, at least currently, once BRS kicks in, that's going to create some differences. But 20 plus, you got your VA, especially if you're looking at going to be at 100% rating, and now your mil spouse probably is going to be able to get some gainful employment that maybe he or she hasn't been able to, because you're constantly PCSing and all that stuff. All of a sudden, your income is going to jump dramatically, because typically you might go to work for a DoD contractor, whatever. Your benefits are going to be crazy. You're making all this kind of extra money. You're making good money, but the problem is you're making good money, and that you're not used to, and it can create all kinds of its own unique situations. So those folks are the ones that I think I bring the most value to. But I operate under the philosophy that whoever God puts in front of me, I'll try to help them the best that I can. Even if it doesn't mean that I don't put food on my family's table. If I can help them, God always takes care of everything else anyway. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was going to say real quick, that was amazing because, and I'll just, again, for the listeners out there, funny, I've always heard like one golf lesson will significantly overhaul and change your entire golf game, right? Just one lesson. And then every lesson thereafter is like diminished returns, right? It's just that first lesson. And I don't want to say that Todd's definitely not a one and done, but I mean, reach out to him, because that first one for sure. I mean, that advice, because, people don't know about zero balance budgets and all these other ways. And that's the other thing too. You hit it right. Service members, we get so hung up on the income piece when we're getting out. We freak out about it, not realizing that statistically speaking, maybe not right away, but within 2 to 3 years at the most, you're going to probably be making more than you were making in uniform. And I love it. I've never heard of just having too much money, not knowing what to do with it. But and it's true. Actually, I heard a statistic not too long ago, a couple months ago, that they said something like people making 70 to 90,000 a year are actually better at saving than people making six figures.
Absolutely.
Because it's too much where we just start to live, freely, if you will. And and we're not doing the right things with that money. So that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's make more money, spend more money, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to ask you who your favorite guest of all time was, because I know it had to deal with the VET S.O.S podcast. So we're not even going to go there. We'll just let that be out there. But we're getting close to the end here. We're going to have to wrap up here in a minute. But can you tell us about some of the organizations that you have had on, to just do their 5-minute, elevator pitch, if you will? Just tell us about the types of organizations that are coming on.
Yeah. So this is what I was most excited about, Shawn, when you invited me on, simply because I think it is extremely important that I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of transitioning service members. And so I don't have a dog in the hunt, as we say in the South, as far as you need to use this organization or that or whatever. These are the ones, and I compiled a list of like 8 or 10. I'll give them to you real briefly, that I feel like I'm most impressed with, simply because of their organization, the people that are involved with them, and what they provide to the service members. So I already mentioned IBMF. Check them out. I mean, they have an entrepreneurial center. If you're looking to start a business, there's all kinds of resources out there for veterans when it comes to small businesses and starting small businesses, all that. Just incredible organization, in my opinion. American Corporate Partners, ACP, Leslie Coffey is one of my favorite people that I have on the call, because she is so genuine. She's a mill spouse going through her own transition. So she's remarkably candid as her husband is transitioning out about the challenges. And so ACP is phenomenal. USO, it's one that I think so few people even remember, because in military life, it's always been there. Yeah. But they do have a lot of great organizations. An organization called Candorful. They help you walk through resumes, but then they also take you through the when you're in the interview process. Fantastic organization, because they give you the ability to interview with people that are in the corporate sector, and then they give you feedback, and so it helps you hone your interview skills. Lessons learned for vets. Lori Norris, phenomenal. I think she's up to I forget 160. I was on like episode 161 or something like that. She's up to 180 of these. Exactly that, lessons learned for vets. Hiring Heroes, fantastic organization. Obviously, just go on LinkedIn, look for somebody who's with Hiring Heroes. They'll give you more information. Wounded Warriors Project, a new one to me. I know something about that, but fantastic organization. I mean, my goodness, from resume help to financial education to all of these things. It's just a fantastic organization. Act Now Education, Jay Salters, Vinal Patel, a fabulous organization where they're giving out information on getting free certifications and all the free education information that's out there. Check them out. Act Now Education. They have a huge Facebook group. And then a newer one to me, the Leader Transition Institute with Annie Brock, Jose Velasquez. Great organization. Just again, those are the ones that I think were highlights. There's always tons of others that we've talked about, but if I were the VET S.O.S owner and it was about highlighting other organizations, those are the ones that I would highlight and say, go check them out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can sit here and tell you honestly, most people have heard that I did like 26 different programs. Every single one that you listed is one I did. Yeah. I did something with every one of them, and highly support everything you just said. Those are some great organizations that are just doing some phenomenal things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I didn't leverage all of them, but I've since connected with all of them because I wasn't aware of. I didn't get as well connected until I had landed on my feet on the other end. But yeah, no, all phenomenal organizations, and you, Todd, you yourself are such an amazing resource. So again, I can't stress enough. I want to scream from the rooftops. Folks need to reach out to you, not just for Transition 30, but also what you provide to them with the financial services. So with that said, how do people get in touch with you?
You know what? I think my LinkedIn profile is on the bottom, and honestly, that's the best way. I don't want to waste your time, and I know that your time is valuable. So reach out to me, DM me. On my LinkedIn profile, there's my phone number, my email address. Feel free to reach out in that way. And if I can be of help, if I can be of value, then obviously I hope today shows that's what I want to do, is be of value to you. So,
yeah, no, and I'm okay.
I was going to say, I didn't add this at the end, but I also want to point out that every one of those organizations that you mentioned, we have an episode that talks about. We've had somebody from every one of those organizations actually come on the show and talk about what the programs are doing. So if you want to learn more, either tune into Todd, tune into us, figure out, what's going on there, and you get a lot of information on those programs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I love, the interconnectedness of this community. I mentioned it on a previous episode. Yeah. There's a few folks out there that are maybe competitive, trying to compete, but for the most part, this community, we all support each other in supporting the vets and transitioning service members. So Todd, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so awesome. As always, I thoroughly enjoy every interaction that I have with you. And to all the folks listening, on behalf of VET S.O.S, we thank you. We love that you're here and joining us today. Please make sure to follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. And remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.